Welcome, friends, to Tanked Up the podcast, all about video games and beer. I'm one of your hosts, Ben. It's episode, I've just checked, 371, and I'm here with Lucy.
Whoa!
I don't know his name you said, but I'm here. Hi.
And Aadil.
Oh, I don't think he said anything. I was just like, this episode blah.
No.
I was like, whoa!
Definitely introduced Lucy, and there was a big explosion of Aadil right in the mix of things. Let's just jump into beers, shall we?
Oh shit!
Lucy, you're not drinking
yes.
this evening,
No.
so you're on some jug, I assume.
No, it's just a normal pint glass.
Okay,
I'm very
Lucy,
vanilla
you're
of
letting
me.
us down.
I know.
I mean, I don't even want. I'm okay with not the standard measuring cup, but I want like
No,
some
hold on,
random
hold on.
vessel. If you're not gonna do like the measured liter thing,
Just like a bedpan, and then the week after it's a hat. Just continuously ridiculous things. Oh, the stein, yeah, a stein of water. Good.
Oh wow. Okay, so pint glass into stein. I mean, now I really. So the problem is Lucy has like primed us for. Apparently, a pint is such a minimal version of that stein. So when Lucy finally comes on the pod and drinks a full stein of that, it's gonna be messy.
Yeah.
Well, messy for Ken and I. Lucy's probably just gonna neck it and be like, "Yeah, it's fine."
And I'll just be on the toilet for most of the podcast.
Yeah.
Right, Aadil, what are you drinking then?
Well, so I'm in a weird place where I'm supposed to. Well, I've chosen to not drink that much because of health reasons and heart crap that doesn't need to get into. But there was a conference and a free tab, and now I'm 3 beers in, and
Fair.
I chose the Neon Raptor Fear the Raptor Barrel Aged BA Pecan Maple Danish Imperial Stout at 13.5%.
Jesus.
So as a man who's like so so I'm getting a heart monitor tomorrow.
Sure.
I'm supposed to avoid stimulants. So like no, I haven't had caffeine in 2 weeks. It's been. But I've also tried to avoid that much booze because like lifestyle crap. Because obviously, when your doc is like, you shouldn't have any caffeine, you're like, oh, maybe I don't value things. And then I've literally had like 3 pints and 3 ounces of very nice whiskey. And the booze I picked today, because I thought I was gonna drink it all, was this thing, which is the Fear the Rancor BA Pecan Maple Danish Imperial Stout. It's the Emperor's Brewery. You're not a Jedi yet, Neon Raptor. Look,
440 mil can? No less?
Yeah, it's 440, 13.5%.
Damn.
It's been in my fridge for, I'd say like 2 months-ish.
Okay.
I got it from the Hop Knocker. It's clearly the Neon Raptor. I think they've moved on from the Star Wars now, but like they were doing their thing. But also, I like Imperial Stouts. I'm honestly, I like Imperial Stouts plain, and like there's enough of these pastry and like maple Danish, for example, Imperial Stouts, and I haven't figured out if I like the added layer. So I'm just like,
Okay.
mildly curious at if this 13.5% beer needs extra wrapping, because the way I like beers, if you had a 13.5% just like Imperial Stout with no Danish, whatever, I'd probably be okay. And I'm just trying to feel out how much, because like the market wants the wrapping of the Maple Danish or the whatever, right? They want like the 13.5% to have a notion, and I'm like exactly the opposite. I'm like, I just want that like clean, high ABV, whatever. And I'm trying to figure out whether I'm okay with the extra wrapping. And Neon Raptor is very good for these thematic things. Like I think they're probably doing a Lord of the Rings thing now based on the world, etc. But like they were doing Fear the Rancor a couple months ago because Star Wars Day, I assume. And it just sat in my fridge because I was like, I want to have this in the pod. Which means you, the listener, won't ever have access to this because it's long since sold out. I'm very good at the, timing things. But,
Unlike my beer, which I panic bought from Sainsbury's earlier today because I had nothing in the fridge, and having looked at the can, I'm regretting my decision before I've even opened it. So I went to a very, very small Sainsbury's to pick up some bits and went, grab a beer while I'm here. I've got a couple of just bottles of Duval in the fridge now as well. But a beer I'd never seen before was Rocket Lolly IPA from Northern Monk.
Oh,
there's a lolly.
Okay.
There's a lolly on the tin.
Interesting.
It says a hop-powered takeoff to give you a fruity cosmic blast. Strawberry, orange, and pineapple. It's only a baby. It's 4.7%. Is it an IPA, really?
no. You don't look it up. It's just
there's nothing else on there. So yeah,
I really like the
I'll
the
open it.
font though, like of the rocket and the lolly being different fonts. That's a nice little touch.
Yeah, definitely. It's quite, it's appealing enough as a can for me to have gone, I've not had that, I'll try that one. And then grabbed a bunch of beers that I've drank and will drink later that I've already had. Oh, wow. To be fair, it's a nice big nose straight off. But we'll come back to you, Aadil, for a brief tasting. A beer I imagine you will sip.
It actually poured a bit less effervescently than I hoped. Like, so it like I poured it. You can see those of you watching the VOD. There's like no head. There's no anything. It poured kind of the same, and I was hoping for a little bit more of like a build-up of head, just like a nice notion of this is a microcosm of beer, and instead it feels like a basically it feels less like I'm having a thing that I got in a can versus like an old draft, I guess.
Okay.
It is very sweet, which it's a pecan maple Danish imperial stout at
To be expected.
13.5%. Obviously, that's a thing that we expected.
Is it?
It's a bit sickly.
I was gonna say, is it like tooth rotting sweet?
No.
Okay.
This is why I wanted to say that. It's a bit sickly, but at 13.5% with all these other things, I don't know if you could have asked for more. A few sips in, I'm getting the maple and a bit of the Danish in the sense of like it feels like a bit bready, a bit malty, a bit like reserved, like the alcohol sweetness and the like whatever you call the Danish sweetness, like the like
pastry
baked good. The baked good sweetness feels tempered in a good way, because it feels like it's grappling with the thing instead of just being like an outward taste. If that makes sense. Yeah, I think this is a bad beer to have small sips of. Actually,
right.
Having had a small sip, just because it's a little too alcohol-y for you to like discern on a small sip. You're just gonna have that like peak sickly sweet and have to discern. On a bigger sip, you're getting a little more of that like pastry on the. Basically, the problem is the like Danish maple pastry, all that stuff is all in the back. It's all in the like not quite finish, but the step before the finish. And you're like, oh, that's what's going on, and it kind of flushes out. But if you take a small sip, you don't get any of that. You just get this like sickly sweet, like kind of a little too harsh. And when you take the bigger sip and have this notion of like a pastry, a Danish in the back end, it's still, if I'm honest, some people won't like this. It's just a little too like in your face.
Okay.
But like, if you're okay with that, you can roll with it. But you need that extra, like you need to take those larger sips to like have that maltiness, have that like occasion to happen. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's been a while since I've read like BA pecan maple Danish imperial stout and be like, yes, I see all those things and they're balanced. And what I really like about this is it does feel balanced, but like in the way that like if I wanted, I would find it balanced if I like drank it in the way of I want an imperial stout, or I feel it balanced if I drank it in the sense of like a kind of sweet, interesting experiment in the pecan sort of like nutty maple thing. But I wouldn't say it was balanced across both.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So it's like you can like lean into one of those things and like see how it could open up, but you still have to kind of make a choice of what you're going to lean into. So it's not like neutrally balanced. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's very good, is what I'm saying.
Good.
It's just like you have to like make a choice of, do I want this like imperial stout that's sickly sweet but doing some interesting things, or do you want to like have this interesting beer which happens to be heavy, but you can't be in between the two, which is really interesting because I think it's doing both of those really well. And you would think then the middle ground would be just like a non-starter, but actually I think the middle ground is like the worst for this beer.
Okay.
Yeah, just a really
A
bizarre.
Munson
Yeah,
seems like
there we go.
the in between, and it's very good. So
Yeah, that's basically this beer. It's just like a bit of a enigma wrapped in a riddle, wrapped in a whatever the fuck. I can't remember forever.
Good. Well, we'll return to it towards the end of the episode and see if anything has changed. Onto a beer that everyone can go out and buy right this second, as long as your Sainsbury's stocks it, I guess. But this Northern Monk Rocket Lolly, it's got a big nose, and it's kind of, you look at the can, you see the Rocket Lolly on, and this nose is that. It's super kind of big strawberry coming off of it, a little bit of orange, but maybe more in that kind of like artificial side. So not sort of like natural flavorings, more like artificial flavorings. And I don't know whether, again, that is just my brain going, lolly, no natural flavorings in that, it's all artificial, and it's just then just pushing that onto the nose that I'm getting from the beer. But, you know, it looks, it's what I say it was, 4.7. It looks like a pale. It's very, very light. A little bit of a head to it, not much. Oh dear. Flavor wise, it's nowhere near as big as the nose. Like I said, the nose is lovely. As soon as I cracked the can, it came straight out. Big nose on this beer. Flavor wise, just doesn't stack up. It's been dialed back massively in the flavor. Still getting a little bit of strawberry, a little bit of orange. Not really getting, was it not lemon, pineapple maybe? Yeah, pineapple, which I'm not getting a huge amount of. If they'd have cut this through with a citrus, something like lemon instead, it might have just picked it up that little bit. But it's just very, very weak. It's kind of like, it's not, you know, like all of these beers started appearing in the supermarkets maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and we were saying, oh, it's kind of like the beer that they make, but a little bit watered down and maybe a bit more mass kind of market, and they've made it for a different kind of audience. This beer just isn't very good, but I can see why it might appeal to people who are looking for an alternative to something else, like Foster's or Carlsberg or, you know, Carling. I don't know if they would pick it up because of the label and things. It's quite, you know, it's kind of quite kiddie and stuff. It's a bit more reminiscent of something like Tiny Rebel.
maybe it's for kids.
Monk, but I mean, it could be. I mean, it might. I mean, 4% might as well be. And it kind of isn't. It doesn't even give you the, like, the nose gave you that flavor. So when you have one of these kind of lollies, you get that big flavor, even if it is artificial, even if it's incredibly sweet. You're still getting those fruity flavors. It's just too watered down. Even on the front, it even says blast hop for some reason, and it's just like, no blasting, no hops in here at all.
Well, you knew what you were getting yourself into, at least. At least it wasn't, your expectations were up here and then...
Sure.
You know.
Yes, my expectations were here. The beer is still here.
Yeah.
but it's a very small drop. It's not kind of like, oh my god, a Northern Monk in Sainsbury's, amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I'll keep sipping it and see what it's like. I might as well be in your corner, Lucy, and having a water, really, but just something slightly flavoured.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see if it opens up at all. What did I drink before this? I don't even remember. It's not a big beer that I had before this, so it shouldn't be affecting my palate too much. And again, I probably finished that about an hour ago, so it's not affecting too much. But anyway, we'll come back to this. We'll see if it picks up at all and my palate acclimatizes and feels any joy at all from this beer. But we will stick with beer and talk about our, I suppose, day out to the Bristol Craft Beer Festival, which happened a couple of weeks ago now, and see if we have any highlights and just how we felt about the day. One of the good things that they have implemented this year is you go to club.wearebeer.com, I think, and you basically sign up and log in, and it gives you a tick list, gives you a list of all of the beers that are on offer, and that was great. It's really nice, nice idea. Great to be able to go around and say, great, I've had this one, I've tried this, and you can heart some of them to see if you really like it. I've forgotten my login, so I can't actually access every password I've tried so far has come up and just said, that's not right. Sorry, you're muted, Aadil, by the way. You're still muted.
God damn it. I was saying I also like wrote things down, and then apparently I don't remember the login.
I should have my login.
But I found it. I have a login. I assume.
What's the name of the thing again?
Club.wearebeer.com.
So the problem is, like, because they like, so this is the problem with like modern software as a service things, because like now I've logged in and it's like, do you want to buy tickets for 2024 or the beer list of 2023? And it's like, oh, it's just like, how do I find the things I highlighted? Because now it's just giving me like a long list just because the event is over. So during the event we could like just
Mine's
like
still showing
highlight
my list,
favorite or say I had it. Like there were two flags on things, but to be honest, it was kind of frustrating because some of the stuff was like, it was listed on the Friday night session and the Friday afternoon session, or the Saturday afternoon session, they still had it, but like no one told anyone, so the thing wasn't there. And it was like, I just want to write, I should just be able to be like, I went to place X and I had this thing, I liked it, or I had it.
Yep.
And I, like, as a
It's allow you to do that. I mean,
data
it's
scientist,
pretty good.
like it or had it isn't the greatest, like, granularity, but the fact that they couldn't get that is kind of annoying.
I mean,
like,
I think we got it. We got it for maybe 80% of the beers, and it was only then maybe when
but I mean,
halfway
like,
through the day we realized
of like having it as the same quality of flag as liking it.
Sure.
Sorry.
I mean, you can.
I literally just came from a academic conference where I was bitching about like data types, etc. I realized that I'm importing a bit of that here. I'll stop talking.
I mean, I'm sure they'll take on any criticism on board for development of next year, because again, this is a new kind of implementation for this year.
Because before they would just have a spreadsheet, and
yes,
so this is a bit better. It works for the most part. Like mine is still showing what I had and what I liked, or what I wanted to try and what I did end up trying. So
okay,
for a first time. What did they have it last year? I think they had something similar last year, but it wasn't quite as easy to use as this.
They did have again last year I think it was more of a spreadsheet that was kind of open for you to just be able to view.
Excel-y.
Yes, yeah. But again, it's something that's constantly being developed, which is great, Because next year, hopefully, it's an app instead of a website, which is just a little bit more intuitive, which holds your data, and obviously they have to deal with all of that kind of data, holding people's data and all of that sort of stuff. And it would be good if I could log in if we're going to buy tickets for next year, if they're going on sale through, those early bird tickets are going on through that, so I'll have to recover my password or something at some point if I remember. So it's a nice idea, and it's a nice kind of as someone who doesn't use Untapped anymore and hasn't for a long time, it's just a nice addition to be able to go, cool, I'll have a quick look, I can just tick it and I'm away. So I can refer back to it if I remembered my login details and say, oh yeah, I hearted this beer, it was great.
That's sort of where I'm at, which is like, on that website, we had to like fight across multiple like days, sessions, etc. And some of the stuff didn't show up, but some of it did. And then I actually like at that point can't remember the difference between like a check mark and a heart. But you go in and you're like, oh, I needed to have done the thing. And so now if I have a filter on check marks and hearts, I have like 10, 15 beers, but also I don't know, I feel like the app just needs to be less granular. Like if you just had an app that said, these are all the beers, and I just like slapped it, I would remember the ones that I liked, even if they weren't the ones I had. And that extra little, like, the extra bit of granularity was like, would be useful, except it's like around that beer wasn't available or it was versus like I can't remember it. I'd rather you just give me like the whole list and I just figured it out, because what happens is like I think I remembered a beer and I didn't, and it's just I don't know. I feel like there's like this weird dissonance between oh yes, the What's Your 20 of IPAs on Friday night. I put a check mark on and 6%, but not a heart. What does that mean? Where if it was just like, was I exposed to this beer, yes or no? Actually, given that we don't have the granularity and that consistency, I'd rather just like the one metric. Does that make sense? Like, it's not that I don't trust. I can't trust the metric because it's like too variable. And I'd rather just pretend there wasn't a differentiation, I guess, is the thing I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. I get that.
I don't.
Um,
Isn't it? The tick is for you've tried it, and the heart was.
Yeah,
I
no,
like
but it's not though, right? Because sometimes you try it and you like it, but you don't love it, and so you have this middle ground.
I didn't think the heart was just I love it. I thought it was. I thought the heart was. This is on my wish list to try. Or maybe that's the way I read it. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah. So this is what I mean about like that like question mark bit. It's like so what Lucy said makes 1,000% sense to me. I don't think anyone who like walked up to the thing would have necessarily that interpretation.
Yeah. I realise I've just recovered my password. I've gone on. I've looked at the different days. I've applied filters to look at the ones that I've ticked, look at the ones that I've hearted. I only hearted one beer. And it's a beer we've spoken about before, which Lucy has drank multiple occasions, which was the Glasshouse Dipper 4. Everything else got a tick, I suppose. And again, I definitely drank more than like 6 beers. So I've not ticked a bunch of beers on here that I actually tried. So who knows how kind of successful it actually is at us remembering to do these kinds of things, rather than us sat there with our kind of our sheet that says all of our beers and writing on it and ticking it. Because I think that's, one of our first beer festivals, that's kind of what we did.
Yeah.
We had our little list and we sort of put notes next to them.
Going to the filters list, it seems that the heart is to favourite.
Right.
What you like, so Aadil's right, but yeah, it's got some neat little filters. You can sort by brewery, by style. That's cool.
Yeah, it's definitely like good bones.
It's a prettier Excel spreadsheet. Just
Ultimately,
a bit
yes.
more user friendly. Yeah.
out of the beers that you did try, or the ones that you remember, not necessarily from the list, is there anything that kind of stood out to you, Lucy?
I really liked, the Dipper 4, as you just spoke about. And I really liked the meads from
Oh, yes.
Gosnells
Oh
of
yeah,
London.
what was the name of the apiary?
I don't know the name of the specific apiary, but the
No, I just meant the
meadery,
brewery that was associated with the apiary.
The meadery.
Gosnells, the meadery, yeah. It's Gosnells of London. Who weren't on the list. Yeah, I really liked
The separate mead
hibiscus.
list.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
the
have to say,
hibiscus one.
so those of us who weren't there, so Emily, my partner, came and joined us for a chunk of the session.
Yep.
And actually, one of my favorite beers was one that Em grabbed, which was the Aura Peach Bellini Cobbler Pastry Sour. It was just exactly what the doctor ordered. It's exactly what it said. It worked really well. I would say it's less pastry sour than just generally sort of stone fruit sour, and it just was like super refreshing, low ABV in at a beer fest. Like it just like stood out as like this. Yep, that's what we wanted.
Who
Like
was that from?
Aura.
Aura. Okay.
So they were one of the. So for those of you who weren't at the Bristol Craft Brewery Festival, Craft Beer Festival, which is like most
Probably
people,
everyone.
I assume, they had like 5 tents ish of like here's the tent, here's the brewer, and a couple of those tents were like jam packed of like instead of having 4 beers from one place times 3, it was like we're gonna say 1 or 2 beers
Some shared
times
stalls.
6, and that was gonna be 1/6 of the whole tent.
Yeah.
So you end up having this like really like diverse but disconnected thing, and that's exactly what they were. And Aura was like one of 2 beers that I can't. I think they did. Like they literally just Aura times 2. Hey, hang out with us. And but that peach Bellini cobbler pastry sour, which sounds really complicated, was literally they were just like, it's a stone fruit sour, and it was goddamn great.
Nice.
And I mean that really sincerely. Like, you don't need or want more than that. It was really interesting. It was still a Bellini, like it was just like a stone fruit thing. You don't have to worry about how it got unfolded. And it was like, no, this is great.
Nice, okay.
And I say this because I encountered multiple really interesting beers in the beer fest this year, but I didn't have something that was just like stand out. This thing, and the closest I got to that was actually this particular beer.
Nice.
Which was
That's
just
cool.
like I'm not saying it like would reset your like parameters in a beer fest. What I'm saying is the closest thing to being like oh shit in this year's beer festival was that, which was like it just did all the things like the Aura just like knocked it out of the park. Like I
Nice. That's
didn't
good.
care enough about longevity. I was just like, yep, this is like enough sour, enough interesting stone fruit, and you did it so well that I just like kind of closed the book for later crap, and it was okay.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because a lot of the beers that I had at least were good. Like good beers. You know, they're beers that I would drink again. It's something that I would be very happy with. But it's a different feeling at a beer festival that you kind of want that next level of stuff, right? And I remember last year, I can't remember which brewery it was, but we queued up because they were going to crack open bottles that they'd brought with them of a specific beer. They'd only brought 20 big 750ml bottles with them. They were going to open them at 2:00, and it was kind of first come, first serve. There wasn't anything like that this year that I saw or that we went and queued up for.
No, not at all.
It was kind of just, here are the beer, here's our beers. If we run out of one, we'll put the next one that we've brought on, which is, standard kind of fare. But it kind of made it like almost less of an event, because a lot of the beers that we had were just, it's like Little Monsters, like pale ale. Cool, nice beer. I'll have that. Great. It's X breweries. It's Good Chemistry's ESB. Lovely beer. Cool. I'll have one of those. There wasn't anything that kind of, I suppose, for me at least, really drew me to them. And it was maybe some breweries like Moonwake. I hadn't had a beer from them before, so I went over to see what they had, and that kind of thing. Being able to experience breweries maybe that we hadn't had before. But again, maybe it is that expectation that you're going to be like, cool, everyone's bringing their A game, they're bringing their best beers for this big festival, and everything is like, oh no, it's just their standard kind of IPA. Cool, it's nice, great. What's next? So maybe a little bit of expectation management required for next year potentially, but then someone ridiculous will turn around and bust out 20 bottles of something special that they've brewed for it, and you've all got to line up again. Lucy, we'll come back to you. Is there any thoughts, any kind of comments on the festival as a whole, or any more beers you want to talk about?
It was hot. Maybe they shouldn't have those greenhouse tents when it's like 30 degrees.
I mean, if you do it in April. April's usually quite good. It's warm. It's not
raining.
Too hot. It might rain. I mean, rain on that day would have been lovely. If it had just showered for 10 minutes, perfect.
It was just very hot, which doesn't usually happen, to be fair. So, you can only account so much for the weather. But I mean, I think by the time that the in probably the last 2-3 hours, it seemed like we had seen everything, and it just, I don't know, maybe a bit more variety would have it just seemed like there was a less, and maybe that's not like in head count for like the brewers or something, but
something more substantive.
Yeah,
I
don't know, maybe.
I get what you mean.
I get that, because I think a lot of it is like this notion of calm.
But maybe I mean, like, breweries are struggling at the moment.
Well, that's why I'm saying it. So why I tried to indicate it's like it's a notion of calm, not stability. And it's like sometimes those things don't like line up. But like what we want is like the notion of calm in the it just doesn't happen. So sometimes like, oh yeah, this worked great, and I just want to push it, and they're like, oh, but also the people involved need their living wage, etc., and it all falls apart.
Yeah, maybe doing a festival beer small batch is just not economically viable currently. So because there's a few things where it's like, it just seems like, oh, this is the spillover of the batch that we already have at the brewery, like stuff we've already seen in cans and stuff that we've already tried. But maybe that's just a sign of the times.
Potentially, and it's interesting because I don't think I drank a beer from any Bristol brewery. I know. I think Aadil, you had ESB from Good Chem, which I had a little sup of. But we didn't go to Arbo, didn't go to Wiper and True.
No.
Any of the people, because again, they all had beers that I've had before, so it was kind of trying to seek out people they'd brought there, and again make it more of a cool. You've brought these people to Bristol for us to try their beer, so that's what I'm going to gravitate more towards, which again is a different experience to previous years. So we'll see how it evolves in that sort of sense. alongside this kind of tracking element that they've sort of brought in as well. So next year will be interesting to see how these changes come about, if anything does change it. The industry might be in an even worse place this time next year. We might all be in an incredibly worse place this time next year, and it will be
Interest rate.
exactly. There'll be one brewery there, and there'll be one beer, and it will be a mild, and it will
tent.
be warm, and that will be
Right.
it. Like, brilliant. It's just like, it's a 3.5% bitter. That's all we're serving this year. It's like, well, we'll take it. Fine. Just sit in a sweaty tent with everybody else. Let's move on from Bristol Craft Beer Festival and jump into our second topic for today, which is not E3, but it kind of is E3 because it's E3 time, and even though E3 hasn't happened and the trade show as such hasn't happened, almost everyone has still come out with their pre-recorded Nintendo Direct rip-off video.
No, it
things.
can't be Nintendo Direct, because Nintendo will definitely fucking just kill any notion of.
I will kill you.
There's a Nintendo Direct happening like
kill you.
tomorrow or
It
next.
already happened.
It's happened. Oh, it happened.
Mm.
When was that? Today? Yesterday?
Yesterday.
Right. Cool. Let's just talk about that, I suppose. Non E3, anything we've seen that we like the look of. I, as a sort of a starting point, I think I kind of like the notion of not E3, but the different conferences that have kind of spilled out of it. So stuff that is non-standard. So Day of the Devs has been going on for a long time now. But always comes out with some absolute bangers, and it's always just like wish list fodder of Day of the Devs. But then there's the Wholesome Games conference as well, like a little pre-recorded kind of hour-ish sort of video, which again shows a load of little indie titles and stuff. So I like that it's making these slightly more independent showcases of games, I suppose, which aren't in any way they're not trying to sell you the product necessarily.
Right.
They're kind of more like, we have found things that we really want to show you. You buy it if you want, but we're going to be buying these games, essentially.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing I kind of take away from, this year, maybe more than previous years, even though E3 hasn't actually happened for 4 years, 4 years now.
Literally doesn't matter.
Yeah. We'll roll around the room, Lucy.
The indie ones are always the highlight. I actually thought PlayStation, well, it was a bit before this whole E3 thing. I thought theirs was decent. I thought Xbox's was good. Nintendo's yesterday was pretty good. So I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's I don't know. I don't know what the temperature is of other people. Like, I mean, I've not really been online recently, or seen
great.
the reaction. Yeah, it really is. So I don't know how other people feel about it, but it just feels a bit weird. I mean, I know the Switch is coming to its end. There's still a few bits and bobs coming. Maybe not things I'm personally interested in. There's 2D now, it looks alright, but the PlayStation and Xbox. I don't know. I think PlayStation first party was a bit quiet. Xbox is all the promise of 2024, but we've seen promises come and go from them. So it just doesn't seem like, we're in. Well, it's probably still at the start of the generation, to be honest. But it doesn't seem like anything's picking up too much momentum at the moment. Mainly because I think with just Xbox, it's a lot of broken promises most of the time. So you can't get hyped about that, surely.
Yeah.
And if you do, you like fool me once.
Right?
Yeah. That being said, there's a lot in the pipeline. I don't know. I just don't care. I didn't care in the lead up to
yeah,
E3.
it's a difficult one for Xbox because it's almost like stuff is still a way ways, and we need to sell stuff. So let's get Richard Ayoade in for Fable because he's a British guy. Fable's a British thing.
That looks alright.
I mean, it does
Fable,
looks great,
yeah.
but it's still not quite far enough along to give us much.
No.
And it's kind of sell it on
it's
personality.
ego driving the thing
Yeah.
versus like, we're in this weird impasse. What does it mean to be in this impasse? Which is why I really love The Wicker Man and the context in which most people like have watched that movie, because it's like,
How did we get to the Wicker Man?
Hang on, wait, no, let's see where we're going.
oh yeah, this is me
Is it a
drawing
tangent?
in great ways.
Do you mean the original or the Nicolas Cage one?
Well, fuck, 1000% the original. Look, I love Nicolas Cage, but no, obviously I'm not making like an emphatic like narrative point on Nicolas Cage.
Go for it.
It's not so. If I was gonna do that thing, it's not gonna be the Wicker Man. The thing that I will like cling on to for Nicolas Cage is not gonna be the Wicker Man. It's gonna be like Face Off, Con Air,
Yeah,
that
right.
like
The Rock.
era.
Put Nicolas Cage to the side. What's the analogy? What's going on? What are we chatting?
Yeah, how did we get to
Is it gone? It's gone. It's gone.
Yeah, it's gone. It's totally gone.
Yeah.
Fair. What about games, Lucy? Was there any like specific game that really kind of jumped out to you that you're like, yep, wishlisted instantly? Or...
Starfield, like, that seems...
Oh, it's got so much.
I'm
promise,
interested.
right?
It's not... Yeah, it has so much promise, whether they... I'm still like, they can't possibly follow through on any of this. So I'm just like, yeah, but considering like this is not my kind of game.
Yeah.
Oh,
you
want to see something? You want to see
Ooh.
something pretty?
Yeah. What you got?
I broke.
You broke NDA.
Yeah, go for
No.
it.
I broke. I've got the Starfield controller.
Ooh, nice.
Oh, wait, you have a Starfield controller? Why?
Yes, because it's very
Lucy,
pretty.
what?
It's pretty. It's
No.
pretty. It's very pretty.
No, what?
It's
But you'll play
pretty.
How do
Starfield
you-
with the Starfield controller, I guess.
I mean, I don't care if the game's good. The controller's just very pretty.
Yeah,
To be honest.
so that'll accept. I'll accept that 9 times out of 10. But the like in between, it seems weird.
Have you seen it, Aadil? I mean, it's not very good in the lighting where I am now, but have you seen it?
Seen what?
Google it. The Starfield controller. It's very pretty.
No, I definitely haven't. Yeah.
Well, you Google it, sir, and
whilst-
tell me if that's not pretty.
Whilst we've got a little bit of time, and Adel is not quite asleep yet. Is there anything that you've seen, sir, that you'd like to tell us about from not E3/E3?
Citizen Sleeper 2. I'll just
I
throw that one in there.
assume that's a no.
Citizen Sleeper 2.
I don't trust any Citizen Sleeper 1 through 17. I don't think that fucking game exists outside of what you're saying.
Came out last
Cool.
year. But
I know.
are you thinking
Look,
of like
Lucy,
Star
I know,
Citizen
but
or
it's
something
like not a
like that?
real game.
You thinking of Star Citizen? Or...
No, I'm thinking all games don't exist anymore. I've given
Oh,
up on
shit.
the idea of them.
I mean,
Oh shit.
that is entirely your belief, and I support.
I'm not suggesting it's a good one. I'm just saying I've got tired of tracking things, so I've just assumed.
Yeah.
That's fair. Absolutely fair. Game. I mean, this is the thing with the conferences, right? The game is going to come out when it comes out, and you'll find out 2 weeks before it's going to come out that it's coming out, and then you go, "Cool,
Yeah.
that's coming out. I'll now look out for it or think about it."
Honestly, most of the things that I've forgotten. There was that cool-looking game that's set in like the American South. Don't know the name of it, and it was literally just a CG trailer.
What'd you do in it?
But it
What'd
was,
you
it was
do?
cool.
You trailed.
Let's have a look. Midnight. I think it's called Midnight something. Xbox game. No. You see, we're terrible at this. Ben, did you see anything? Because I can't remember anything.
I mean, some stuff is already things like a lot of the stuff that I saw was already kind of on my radar.
Yeah.
Things like Viewfinder, which I played a demo for
Oh,
a little while ago.
Type of
Pacific.
Midnight. That
South
looks
of
wicked.
Midnight, okay.
I hope it's good.
It doesn't come to mind. Nothing comes to mind for that, so I'll have a look. Pacific Drive. I think it was showed in the PlayStation conference. It's that kind of like ridiculously good-looking, like driving survival kind of game, I suppose. It's coming to PC as well, but like that just looks a bit kind of different, I suppose. It's kind of a bit of a
I remember seeing that ages ago.
kind of like
Was it
almost a
made like
horror
a
vibe, I
Australian?
suppose. I don't know where it's made. What was the other one that I was?
Prince of Persia looks
literally-
alright. but
Prince of Persia.
Ubisoft,
Prince of Persia was
isn't
the other one of the other ones that kind of piqued my interest.
it's
But
not
again,
good.
it's Ubisoft.
Really not good,
So-
though.
No,
yeah, it
I
being
mean,
Ubisoft.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
fine.
it's a
We can talk
bother.
about Prince of Persia. We can potentially review it, but it's still a trash company in terms of their upper management and how they treat their staff, which seems to have been a completely dead story since about September of last year. So who knows? Well, I say who knows if it's still the same. Probably is still the same. But there's a team making the new Prince of Persia game. I'm sure most of them are lovely people. So it looks cool.
Yeah.
There was that game, was it in Day of the Devs, where it was basically it's like QWOP, where
Oh,
you're
God, that's
moving
great.
man.
Pop is so bad.
Salt Sea Chronicles, which is the guys who made Mutazione, their next game.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
That was really pleased to see. Oh gosh, what it's Bennett Foddy, and he's made
Bennett Foddy is so
somebody
good.
else. Yeah, he's basically made, in conjunction. Who was it? This is great listening for people.
Just type into Google Bennett Foddy and just see what comes up.
Yeah, upcoming game, where it's basically you're a big old man baby. It's called Baby Steps.
Oh wow. Okay.
And it's a walking simulator in the literal sense of the term, where
Wow.
you got this big old baby man living in his parents' basement or whatever, learns how to walk, and it just looks weird. And was it the soundtrack from the people who did what was it called, the Ape Escape game? That's not Ape Escape.
Oh,
The top
the Ape
down.
Escape game that's not Ape Escape.
Yeah, the top
Oh,
down.
Ape Out.
Ape Out, yeah.
Oh, that's a great game.
Mm,
Like with all of the
I think-
the reactive music that kind of builds as you're moving through the level and doing kind of violent things as the ape, but it's all just like offbeat jazz.
Yes.
Yeah, that's such a good soundtrack.
Yeah, and I think they're doing the soundtrack to this.
Nice. Oh, I should play
And
Ape Out again.
It looks weird and very stupid, and I'm all about it. It looks like it'll be infuriating as well.
Nice. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what you
just
need.
watch
You
the
need it to be
trailer
infuriating.
of that. The music's great.
The one I've just thought of, which I'll talk about next week probably, because I have played the demo for it, because it is Steam Next Fest. So there's loads of demos out that we're going to talk about next week. But the one that really stood out from the Xbox showcase was, I assume I'm saying this incorrectly, but Jusant. Or Jusant, the climbing one, just because of how fluid that climbing looked, and it's kind of this, very kind of, I suppose it's almost a cartoony but slightly more realistic kind of aesthetic, to it. It almost looks a little bit kind of not as stylized as something like Sable, but it looks similar in terms of its tone that it's kind of giving off. But yeah, just Sant. It's from Don't Nod. So and Don't Nod are absolutely bashing out games at the moment. They released like a game today. Like another visual novel-esque kind of game that they've just put out. They've got another one coming out, which I think I've got a demo loaded for as well.
Nice.
Yeah, what's that one called? Well, that was from the previous. I think it's Stray Gods as well. So I don't know if they're making all of these games or if they're just publishing some of them. But yeah, a bunch of stuff coming out from them soon. So Just Sant was the other one, which kind of really stood out to me. So yeah, all of it is kind of smaller games. Again, as it is almost every year when E3 kind of rolls around.
Yeah. And yeah, just nice to know that quite a few of them will be in Game Pass. So
yeah,
that's me sorted.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I did notice that Cities Skyline 2 is coming to PC Game Pass on release. So I think I might just be getting like Game Pass for like 4 months just to play Starfield and City Skylines 2. Just hit it for a few months to get some worth out of it for the last kind of quarter of the year or something, and then maybe pick up some of these other games as well, like Just Sant and a few of those that are coming kind of day one to the service as well. So it seems like a very good time to, especially with the third party games coming out, to go to delve back into Game Pass from kind of maybe September onwards, perhaps. So yeah, I mean, and again, the Xbox showcase was essentially just a Game Pass advertisement, I guess. Just like, here's all of the games that are coming to Game Pass. Like, cool, okay, brilliant. Yes, I'll have some of those, please. Cool. Okay. Anything to finish on from either of you?
It's just small games getting like release dates, which is nice to see. Like that Vendor game, which is Aadil's favourite game, with the Canadian cooking.
Yeah, like Indian heritage, but Canadian cooking game.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the Wholesome Direct thing and all.
Yeah, I get you.
They have like a graphic of all that they announced, and it's a lot. Stuff that I don't even know what it is. So remember it. That's a lot. A lot of cute looking games.
Yeah. Lots of cats this year.
Yeah. Who doesn't love cats?
Definitely not my influence. Not at all.
Good. Well, let's finish there then for this week. If there's anything else, Lucy, you can always add an addendum onto the start of next week.
I think I got
stuff that kind of picks back in.
Cool. That's the only game follow-up. Salt Sea Chronicles and Citizen Sleeper 2. And Blasphemous 2, that was earlier in the year. I don't know when or where. That might be a Nintendo thing, I can't remember, but yeah.
Still no Silk Song.
It doesn't
not gonna happen. No. It's just not gonna happen.
I'm just
make your peace, my dude.
I'm hanging my hat on Blasphemous 2.
Yeah.
That'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Or you just go back to Blasphemous.
Whole again.
Yeah. Good. Let's roll back round then to the beers for the episode. I can very quickly say this Rocket Lolly did nothing. Didn't change at all. It's fine. It's fine. I just chalk it up to a beer that I have drank and will never drink again. So,
what I'll say is the Neon Raptor, Fear the Rancor, barrel aged, BA Pecan Magle Danish Imperial Stout. Boy, this just beer needed to be by itself in the corner. Like, the things I like about it are exactly what you would have thought would be like taxing, given like Ben was like, this is how this beer worked out. It's like, this is how this beer worked out also, but also if it didn't, it would have been magical this way. By that I mean like it's just like such a niche beer, just needs you to like ride its own wave.
Right.
And it works really well that way, but not in the way where you and your interlocutor, it's just like, I don't know, it's complicated because like everyone's happy with the like service level thing, but if we're going past that, it doesn't work. Which is kind of what I feel about Bristol's scene, having been away for like a year, has been like, there's like really tight moments, but like it needs to be more free flowing.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like a bigger conversation. I know y'all want to go to bed.
Maybe a conversation for next week, perhaps. If you, dear listener, went to the Bristol Craft Festival, or you have thoughts about not E3 or any of the games that we're showing, give us a shout at TankTopCast on the socials. I'm at Nova_47. Lucy is.
Just hearing Aadil talking about flowing and catch the
Look,
wave,
don't fucking
and in
pull
his
me out of
shirt open,
my
you
aesthetic
look like
bullshit.
a surfer. You look like you just got off the plane from Cali.
I fucking
You
hate
spent
you,
like
but also
6
I love
months
you.
there.
He's just bowled in. Just bowled in from being at the beach.
I'm just an asshole. It's just like I'm just a hipster
No,
asshole.
you just got surfer
Make
vibes.
Make your
to you
peace.
this week.
As soon as you
Surfer
recognize
vibes.
that your friend is just a hipster asshole, everything is way easier.
I mean, we all are. We all are.
Sure. Adil,
Yeah.
if people want to talk to you on the internet, how do they do that?
I mean, they won't. But yes, the
Surfer Bro,
TheOmnRCH.
Surfs Up 1984. Cool. They're all the places that you can get. Let's go to outlives.net to read various reviews that are going up. Lee's putting out a couple of reviews this and next week. Carl has his article up every week, and you can see our faces in the beers that we have drank on the video version over there or at the Out of Lives YouTube page. Join us every week on Twitch as well to come and chat to us if you fancy whilst we're recording. And that's about everything. So for this week, we've been tagged up. Thanks for joining us. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Whatever the surfers do they do the hang loose or something? I don't even know.
Like that.
Yeah.
Almost like, yeah. What's the Crocodile Dundee one?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to throw a fish in.
Is it the horn? Does he do the
Oh,
horns?
Illinois.
The horns towards
This is
the
Illinois.
bull or whatever he does? Who
It's not a
knows?
knife.
It's
That's
not
a
a knife.
spoon.
Oh, I see
We're
you
the
played
worst.
Knife is Spoony before.
Everyone listening, we recognize we're the worst. Just deal with it.
www.outoflives.net